Hello, my name is John Kelly. I'm a personal injury attorney here in Phoenix, Arizona. I understand that you or someone you love may have been impacted by a traumatic brain injury. And if so, you're likely searching for answers, wondering how this injury will affect your life, and seeking a lawyer who is both knowledgeable and empathetic. I've created this series to guide you through what lies ahead, offering information and compassion in every step of the way. We'll go over several chapters, starting with Chapter 1, Common Causes of Traumatic Brain Injury in Personal Injury Cases. Hello and welcome. In this first chapter, we're going to talk about how traumatic brain injuries, or TBIs, typically happen in personal injury cases. Understanding the common causes of TBIs will set the stage for everything else, from medical insights to legal strategies. Traumatic brain injuries can occur in an instant during events that many of us experience every day. We'll walk through those scenarios, car crashes, falls, assaults, and more, and see why they feature so prominently in personal injury law. Let's start with a broad view. A traumatic brain injury essentially means that the brain has been harmed by some external force. So basically, something outside of the body hits or shakes the head. It might be a bump, a blow, or a jolt to the head, like hitting your head in a fall, or something penetrating the skull, like a piece of debris or bullet. We often call TBIs an invisible injury because, unlike broken arm or a cut, you often can't see the damage from the outside. But we'll get to that aspect a little later. First, how do these injuries happen? One of the leading causes of TBIs is falls, especially in personal injury contexts. People can get a brain injury by falling off ladders, slipping on wet floors, tumbling down stairs, or even simply trip on an uneven sidewalk. In fact, falls account for nearly half of all TBI-related hospitalizations, surprisingly. Think of an elderly person falling in a poorly lit nursing home hallway, or a customer slipping on a spill in a grocery store. Those falls can lead to serious head injuries. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, found that in one analysis, about 40% of TBIs were caused by falls, by far the largest single category. Falls are particularly dangerous for young children or older adults, but they can happen to anyone. Another major cause is motor vehicle accidents, car crashes, motorcycle collisions, trucking accidents. All of that sudden force can do terrible things to the brain. The impact in a car accident can make a person's head slam into the steering wheel or window. But even without directly hitting your head, the violent shaking or whiplash from the crash can cause the brain to move and twist inside the skull. It's a common misconception that you must hit your head to get a brain injury. In reality, any force that makes the brain bounce or twist inside the skull can lead to a TBI. So, in personal injury cases involving vehicles, TBIs are often a concern even if the person has no obvious head wound. Motor vehicle accidents are consistently a top cause of severe TBIs and TBI-related deaths in adults. Let's not forget struck by or struck against injuries. For example, getting hit on your head by a falling object or slamming your head against something. In construction or workforce settings, a hard hat might not fully protect against a heavy tool falling from a height. These incidents are also common culprits. The CDC notes that being struck by or against an object accounts for a significant percentage of TBIs. One study put it around 15% of the cases over several years. Think of scenarios like a warehouse worker hit by a shifting load, or even a recreational accident like a baseball to the head. Then there are acts of violence. Sadly, things like physical assaults, domestic violence, gunshot wounds to the head are significant causes of brain injury. In civil personal injury law, an assault can lead to a lawsuit if, for instance, a property owner's negligent security enabled an attack. Domestic violence victims might suffer TBIs from abuse, sometimes called the silent injuries in those situations. And while it's more specific context, It's noteworthy that firearm-related brain injuries, including self-inflicted ones, are a leading cause of TBI-related death in the United States. In a personal injury case, we might see a gunshot wound TBI if a gun misfires due to a defect or negligence in involvement in some way. We hope none of you ever encounter these situations, but they do happen. Sports and recreational activities are another area. Athletes, especially in the context of sports like football, boxing, soccer, or hockey, frequently get concussions, which are a form of mild TBI. In youth sports, a lack of proper safety protocols can lead to head injuries and potentially liability for the schools or the organizations. We've all heard about football players and concussions. Those repeated impacts can cause long-term brain damage. In personal injury law, you might see cases against schools for not responding to a concussion properly or against equipment manufacturers if they say a helmet was defective. The Mayo Clinic notes that sports injuries are a known cause of TBIs, particularly among young people, listing everything from soccer to skateboarding as potential triggers. Even extreme sports or recreational activities, think of biking accidents or a fall from a horse, can result in TBIs. There's also the military context, explosions and blasts, which can cause TBIs due to pressure waves. Those are more common in combat veterans, hence the term shell shock historically. But you could also see blast injuries in civilian life. For example, an industrial explosion at a workplace, blast caused by pressure wave that can disrupt brain function even without direct impact. While lawsuits for military injuries are different beasts, often involving veterans' benefits rather than typical personal injury claims, the mechanism is worth understanding, and the brain is extremely sensitive to sudden changes in pressure. Lastly, let's mention workplace and industrial accidents in general. Construction accidents are a big one. A fall from a scaffolding, a piece of equipment striking someone can cause a TBI. If proper safety harnesses or procedures weren't in place, that can become a personal injury or workers' comp case. Also, product liability can appear here too. Imagine a defective product that causes a head injury, like a poorly designed child car seat that doesn't protect the head in a crash, or an unstable furniture that tips over onto a person's head. These scenarios sometimes lead to lawsuits against manufacturers. In one example, lawyers noted everything from dressers falling on children to malfunctioning safety gear as causes of TBIs. So, to summarize the common causes: falls, vehicle collisions, objects striking the head, violence, which includes assault or abuse, sports injuries, industrial or product-related accidents are the main culprits in personal injury cases. Each of these scenarios has unique characteristics, but they all involve a sudden force to the head or a sudden motion of the head that the brain couldn't withstand. Before we move on, there's one more concept to understand about these injuries. Often, when the head is struck or jolted, the brain can suffer what is called a Contrecoup injury. This means that the brain moves inside the skull, first hits one side of the skull, coup, then bounces and hits the opposite side, Contrecoup. Imagine your brain like a jello in a jar. If you shake the jar hard, the jello bangs into the glass. Even indirect forces like whiplash, where the head doesn't hit anything, can cause the brain to accelerate and decelerate rapidly, leading to the injury. That's why, as we noted, you don't need direct blow to cause a TBI. The sudden movement alone can stretch and damage brain tissue. By understanding these common causes, we're better equipped for the next steps. After all, if you're an attorney evaluating a case or a family wondering how did this happen, identifying the right cause is just one step. In personal injury litigation, each cause, be it a car crash, a slippery floor, all of these will shape how you approach proving fault and securing compensation. And for families, knowing the cause helps in grappling with why this life-changing event occurred and who might be responsible. Now that we've covered where and how of TBIs, let's delve deeper. into the next chapter. We'll get a clearer picture of what traumatic brain injury actually is, medically speaking. What happens to the brain during these incidents? What types of TBIs are there, from concussions to severe brain injuries? Understanding the injury itself will help make sense of the symptoms and legal challenges we'll discuss later. So let's move on to understanding traumatic brain injury in more detail.